Okay, YouTubers, this is the Angry Prepper. So, today's episode, we're going to talk about how to end racism. Now, here is the big catch. You can't. You cannot end racism because racism is here to stay. Racism is part of the evil construct, if you will, right? And part of the evil construct, paradigm, whatever you want to call it, it is something that will never be gotten rid of. It can't. This misconception of ending racism with love and hugs and unicorns is bullshit and doesn't exist. We have bigger issues in the racism game, if you will. There are far more things we need to be concerned about when we talk about racism. And the things we need to be concerned about is the fact that racism is not just a black and white thing. Now, I did a video on Let's Talk About Racism on the Angry Prepper channel here. And I talk about a lot of the issues, not so much the issues, but the bullshit with racism here in America. Well, the other thing with America is that we definitely have a racism issue, but the racism issue is more than black and white. The racism issue is other cultures and other races in this country going at it with one another. There are more race issues with other groups than black and white. Black and white gets the forefront because it's the flavor of the month, but there are racist issues between Spanish and black, whether that's Dominican and Puerto Ricans and blacks, Mexicans and blacks, Koreans, Chinese and blacks, blacks and Chinese, blacks and Koreans, whites and Chinese, whites and Koreans. You get it? South Americans versus Russians. There's racism and xenophobicism, if that's a word, all over the place. So to sit there and beat the drum that racism is only between whites and blacks is bullshit. The media pushes this narrative so that they can definitely cause a rift in this country, which is already there. The rift in this country is getting bigger because people are going to sit there and think, well, white people are the bad people, and that's all there is to it. Because of their colonialism and slavery, that they are it. Newsflash, dick faces. Slavery is still going on today in many African countries. Slavery is going on in other places in the world. The sex trafficking industry, system, crime that's going on. There is slavery in that, and that is a multicultural thing. So let's not sit here and act like white folks in America were the only people to have owned slaves or enslaved a group of people. We have to address the other issues with the other cultures, because you are not going to get rid of racism if you just focus on black and white. Because if we are a multicultural country, there are far more racist issues than black and white. Black and white is just the skim of the surface of racism. The skim. There are other issues that need to be addressed. And trying to sit there and say, well, we're going to get rid of racism so we can, kumbaya the moment together. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. It's not going anywhere. It's here to fucking stay. We have too many different cultures that don't want to understand other cultures. We have too many cultures that don't give a shit and want to hate another culture just for the sake of hating. Because it's in their blood, it's in their DNA. It's in the human DNA to hate. It's in the human DNA to fucking not want to understand another group on purpose. There are people out there that will sit there and say, well, if you teach them this, yes, we can diminish or minimize racism by talking to different groups of people and teaching them understanding with other groups. Yes, that can work. You can definitely minimize racism, but you can't get rid of it. You can't sit there and go, you know what? Like MTV did a bunch of years ago, those fucking hacks. They were like, we're going to stomp racism out. No, the fuck you're not, you fucking twit. Because racism is just embedded in the human DNA. It is what it is, guys. It's something that I don't know how many times I need to say it, we'll never get rid of. Now, for a lot of you liberal pricks who are probably on here thinking, well, you know what? We have to try. We've been fucking trying forever, and we've gotten nowhere with it. And it's only gotten worse because people allowed it to get worse. Here in the United States, that is. Worldwide, I can't speak for it because we are never going to end racism worldwide. That's for a fact. In America, it's not going to end. It doesn't matter how many whites and blacks get married and have kids and have a little mixed kid running around somewhere. That doesn't matter. That'll form a new fucking racist group. There's racism or colorism, if you will, I hate that term, between black folks. Light skin versus dark skin. Why aren't we addressing that? And we're addressing it at a small stage. You'll hear some black TV shows talk about it, but that's at a small stage. That's racism right there. Again, you got Korean dudes and Chinese who don't like black folks, yet they have stores in black communities. You got Native Americans that don't like blacks. You got Native Americans that still hate white man till this day and call them white man. You got Chinese people in this country who were, let's say third, fourth generation because their ancestors, if you will, walked on a railroad. You got those people that hate fucking white folks. So what are we going to do? Well, like I said, the only thing we can do is minimize it. We cannot get rid of it. As soon as we understand that we can't get rid of it, we can have a better understanding on how to tackle it and how to minimize it. But if you sit there under the false pretenses in your head that we can get rid of racism, we could stomp it out, then you're fucking kidding yourself and you're kidding everyone around you and you're kidding your kids, you're kidding the future of this country, because it's not going to happen. Yes, you can have ex neo-Nazi members who saw the light, if you will, and realized that the racism they believed from the neo-Nazi group was bullshit. You have those guys who do wake up. You have guys who stop fucking around with the KKK and saw a better light. Now, that's because they had a better understanding. That's because someone spoke to them. Are you going to get everybody on board with that same act? No. But nonetheless, guys, it's something that needs to be understood so that we can move forward with minimizing racism. Here's my other pet peeve with racism right now. People using racism as a crutch to say, well, I didn't make it in life because Whitey did this to me or Whitey did that. White Timmy over there standing in the corner, his whiteness offends me, and because me being offended for his whiteness, I couldn't progress in life. No, you're a lazy piece of shit. Now, look at the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and even in the 90s, when racism was still there. And listen, racism's still here, guys, but not at the rate you hear a lot of black folks talking about now. Well, the white guy makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't know, and because of him, I haven't done anything because I'm scared. You are the captain of your own ship, your own destiny. You control where your life goes. I became a fireman regardless of people telling me they're not going to accept you because you're black, they're not going to like you, this, that, and the third. I didn't let that bullshit fucking bother me. I became a fireman because I wanted this job since I was fucking 6 years old. A YouTube creator. I didn't start taking it seriously, but I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to take this seriously. And now look where I am. I got a decent following. I have a great amount of supporters, or great supporters, if you will. So I did it because I wanted it. I did it because I went after it. So many blacks in the early 20s, 30s, and 40s, they went after their dream and they got it. Now, yes, there are certain stories, there are certain events, if you will, where you hear of black folks losing it all because white people burned it down. Yes, that did happen, and yes, that was unfortunate, but guess what those people did? They rebuilt. They moved to another area, they rebuilt that community, and they let it flourish. You can't use racism as an excuse if our ancestors, if those who were here before us didn't use that excuse and made their lives successful by saying, fuck them, fuck that, I'm going to do what I want to do because this is where I want to be. If those people can do it back then, in 2021, if you're using racism as an excuse for you not making it, you are undoubtedly a lazy piece of shit. I don't know how to put it. I heard someone the other day say, and this is on Instagram, this lady said that black people cannot be racist. Black people cannot be racist towards white folks. The amount of stupidity that's growing because people are latching onto that stupidity. People are like, you know what? She's right. I am black and I experienced racism, and my family experienced racism, and they were slaves their whole lives. They were slaves. And I don't think if I'm racist to a white person that it's racism. I'm just paying them back what they did to us. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. When I heard that final excuse come out, I was like, this is the stupidity we're combating with, because it's the stupidity that's continuing racism. These idiots that think that black folks can't be racist are the reason why racism is going to keep going forward. The other reason racism is going to keep going forward is because we're being one-sided. We're listening to BLM, but we're telling white conservative males that they're the enemy. That is why racism is going to keep going. Racism is always going to keep going as long as we have this perpetual bullshit of one-sidedness. And yes, Martin Luther King was the godfather of ending racism. He was on the right track. But he, even in his last days, realized we're not going to be able to end racism, but we can definitely make life better for black folks here in America by X, Y, and Z. Even those who thought they can end racism early in life realize we can't, but we can definitely make life better for black folks and people in general. That's what it's about. Making life better and ending the bullshit and realizing that we can't end racism. As soon as you realize that, as soon as you fucking latch onto it, you can start fighting against racism in a different tactic, if you will. Instead of fucking throwing rainbows, unicorns, and hugs. Because that shit don't work. You're not going to hug racism out of somebody. I'm pretty sure of that. Anyway, guys, this is the Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching. You can like and subscribe to this channel. You can also follow me on the Angry Prepper channel. Like and subscribe to that. All right, guys, thank you for watching.